You're listening to the Off Balance Podcast, where faith, family, and business collide. Hosted by Brooks Deming, Doctor of Business Administration, business coach, and resilience expert. Each episode features real-life conversations to help entrepreneurs like you build resilience and lead with confidence.
Today's guest is here to help you navigate the tension between connection, intimacy, and leadership. Marie Pier is a sexual and relational therapist who teaches people how to move out of their heads and into the wisdom of the body so relationships feel more natural and fulfilling. Marie, welcome to Off Balance.
Thank you so much, Brooke, for hosting me here.
I am so excited to have you. Before we dive into our conversation, can you tell listeners who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm located here in Canada. I'm a sex therapist, psychotherapist. So I own the clinic. I welcome couples and individuals who's looking to live fully and freely. I work from mainly with individual looking to release sexual discomfort or reconnect with themselves or any sexual concern that we can think of. It's what I like to dive in. So I do that mainly from a trauma expert lens, through couples, through relationship, or individually, depending. Sometimes that journey starts in different places.
You mentioned trauma. Can you unpack how the body holds a kind of wisdom that can restore intimacy and trust after something bad happens?
Yes. Well, you're bringing us straight in the core of the subject, right? A little bit in that, what I like to see, coming home to ourselves. So trauma is stored in our nervous system. So it's not what happened to you, it's what happened inside of you as a result of what happened to you. So there is no comparable into who carried the biggest trauma. When we are in a situation frozen for an extended period of time and feel alone in it, that's the moment where the body will go in what we call that freeze or flight response. So we carry this high peak of emotional distress inside, and we are unable to use often our voice or capacity to escape the situation, so we withdraw internally, and that's create a wound inside. So depending on how the trauma, what happened to you, in which context, we will experience distress where our nervous system would pick up on cues at risk to put us back in the same spot. Those cues can feel different. When it's sexual trauma, we can carry fear of our own sexuality. We can fear to relate deeply with one another. Like the body is developed this sensitivity to protect ourselves and prevent us to go back in the same spot.
Yes, and I never heard it explained that way. How would someone that is dealing with distress internally, how would that show up in a relationship?
It will all depend into what we carry and how do we perceive a sense of threat. We are bonding mammals at the core of our essence. We're longing for connection. This is a basic need as important as breathing and eating. We will automatically seek connection or wanting to engage with one another. But when we carry trauma that happened through relationship, of course, the healing process and the sense of threat will both happen through relationship. On one part, we long to connect, but the other part, we may fear vulnerability. On one part, we desire deepening, feeling held, feeling wanted, but the other part, we think appearing too much and undesirable or inadequate in the eyes of someone else. So that carries paradox that frees us.
Wow, that's really good. So if someone is listening, what would you say to them if they are confused or I don't think I need a sexual or relational therapist?
Right. My core view is always about returning back to ourselves. There is so many input out there about what to do, how to engage, and it's all those how to do list. Well, that unfortunately trap us in our mind, and we're losing the very core of what's make us unique. So in my view, coming home to yourself is not another thing to do to get right. It's actually the opposite. It's the soft returning, like a remembering to our very unique essence that never left us. If you give me permission, I'd love to walk you through it. Yes. So for those of us who's holding family, business life, love, work, we usually fall into responding to the same spacing. Why? Because we've been trained, that we've been conditioned to take more, produce more, compete, perform in order to earn a sense of success or confirmation that we did it right. The challenge is that we overextend ourselves and start to live in a place of depletion. So to come back to your question, it's almost like this sense of depletions is expected. And it's what if we look at it from the other side, it's quite interesting because that sense of being spread too thin, it's a signal. A way of our body or our inner world are telling us that something is misaligned. So if we listen to our mind and engage to our mind, we come across concrete solution. But when we come back internally, we return ourselves and we start noticing those silence, slowing down just enough to feel it, give attention to what our body, our instincts is telling us, we start coming back and respond from a place of uniqueness, from a place of we get back to our senses. We can engage from a place of freedom. And that's where we give access to another person to meet us.
Wow, that is so interesting. I never really thought about how being so busy, never taking time to slow down, how that can impact us in relationships. So how can someone recognize the signs that they are maybe overworking or just busy?
Right. Well, that's it's coming back to those sense of life is not happening with you, it's happening to you almost. It's like we get depleted, we get in those spacing, we become robotic and don't realize that we're actually losing ourselves. We're losing our passion. We're losing what thrills us. We're losing our a very core desires without noticing. And on the long term, what is very interesting is we will become functional and everything seems to flow well, but our sexuality will were who we are in our life. So that's the moment when we start to feel that sexual desire doesn't come freely. And that's the moment when we start to feel that we will rather fall into a TV show and disconnect ourselves on our device rather than actually taking care of ourselves. Taking care of ourselves is seen as selfish, and it just speak deeply to that place where when we let life happening for us, we're actually losing the sense of agency, that we own our own decision and our own connection and our own vibe. But we're losing it if we respond to that space of life.
This episode is brought to you by the Business and HR Clarity Audit, a strategic one-on-one session designed for entrepreneurs who are growing with intention. If you're a purpose-driven business owner juggling leadership, team dynamics, and sustainable growth, but something just feels off, the Clarity Audit is your next right step. In this personalized audit, you'll uncover what's working, what's holding you back, and how to align your operations, team, and leadership strategy for long-term success. It's not just about checking boxes. It's about building a business that supports your vision and your values. Walk away with a clear, customized roadmap to move forward with confidence. To book, visit brooksdeming.com.
So when it comes to sexual and relationship counseling or therapy, what is a common misconception that you see?
The misconception is often like people say, I did it all, I'm strong. People will come and feel very confident that resilience, it's about pushing harder and staying like a bit stoic. It's unfortunate the story that our culture tells us, that strength equal endurance, that surviving means doing more, holding more, being unshakable. But embodying resilience in my world, the kind I explore in my work, begin with presence. It begins with feeling yourself fully. which means feeling the courage to listen to your discomfort and staying aligned with your own integrity rather than what the world of others expect of you. In relationship and in inner life, resilience is about turning towards your own journey, starting with the courage to feel what scares you the most. The fear of collapsing is often a big one, of being overwhelmed, of not having attuning to your body felt sense mean noticing the full spectrum of your emotion, what arises, what contract, what longs to be acknowledged. And as we're talking, I just saw this yesterday. If you give me permission, I'm just thinking my clients right here. He's been in a marriage for 30 years, and he had been actively attentive, complimenting his wife at home for her cooking, for staying, managing the household, raising the kids, while he was mainly going in and out at work. But the truth is, while his compliment felt to a certain degree superficial to him, each time he was looking at her, sitting at the table, enjoying the meal, you could see the distress and the wait for her to stay at home. He didn't know how to fix it. He didn't know what to say. He tried to give her, like, you can do whatever, encouraging her. But the truth is, each time he was engaging complimenting, he was denying that sense inside that he felt helpless. Rather than tapping in that helplessness, the fear of collapsing, not knowing how to fix it, he cut it off and remained in his head and making himself commitment to always honor his wife. When we slow down in my office and he began to attune inside, tears started to flow. He sensed his body. He realized that the bottom line of his helplessness is not weakness and is not wrong. It's actually empty. And at the very first moment, he could hold the wholeness of his wife in his hand when he was tapping in the helplessness that I cannot help her. And when we could not, we help. And he could hold the fact that he could not help. He realized that he could see her fully. It was magical, the release of being able to admire and own his own incapacity to face it in front of her. That is what I call resilience. It's when we allow ourselves to attune fully, acknowledge. It's like you show up for yourself without abandoning yourself, without overcompensating, and without needing to control the outcome. The floor is yours. I'm going to try to stay concise because if you bring me into my passion, I may elaborate too long. The paradox of modern womanhood starts with how our culture has unfortunately rewired us, making us forget what matters the most. So the very feminine wisdom, and I'm very, very specific here to say wisdom rather than gender, because we all hold the feminine energy and the masculine energy in ourselves, but we have one of those that is dominant. So it's not across gender, it's across our dominant essence. So the feminine energy carries the aliveness, the warmth, the emotional attunement as the dominant part of our core essence. It's to express our feminine gift requires softness, vulnerability, and sensitivity. So the very qualities that modernity has taught to see as weaknesses or diminishing our credibility as human beings. So women have no choice to gain back equality, to begin to feel ashamed of their own emotional gift, feeling less than, too much when comparing themselves with other people in performance. So the compensation, they had learned to deny their vitality, to match what's requested of us, to fit the expectation to be more constructive or to compete. We had no choice. But what that creates, it's a depolarization across work, across friendship, across love relationship. So that same dynamic often turns sex into performance, contributing to desire discrepancy, and even in men, erectile dysfunction. The reason is because none of the partner inhibit the capacity to bring softness again, especially in women that the holding back their vitality requires to live in the power of the mind. It's extremely difficult to go back in your senses by yourself if you don't have someone helping you to soften. So when we carry in a partnership two partners with dominant masculine energy, we are depolarizing. It's very challenging to gain that back sexually or to even engage in that softness of sexual presence because both partners are now stuck in their mind, unavailable to soften one another through warmth. So desire would fade, the feminine essence as being forgotten in its beauty and richness.
So, what is the title of your book?
The Paradox of Woman Modernhood. This is where we are at right now. So in the book, I'm going in a lot of depth into how does reality create different type of patterns in terms of relationship and how we get stuck in hyperarousal and how we get stuck in people pleasing or self-abandonment. So I'm going very in depth in all of those reality, bringing case example of the clinic. And we are slowly building the path to recognize those two different energies inside of us, the masculine and the feminine. And we do need to recreate the harmony on those two energies to feel complete. And when we feel complete, it opened the door to reconnect with the feminine, our body, our sexuality, because we start to feel safe within our oneself. We don't need.
So, you also talk about the power of making choices, not from fear, but from what you call an embodied truth. For listeners who feel torn between obligations, expectations, and their own desires, how do we begin to discern what a full body you feels like in real life?
We often perceive threat in terms of disappointing others. So disappointment of others will define whether or not we're fully worthy or we're fully wanted or we stand for who we are. So we perceive threats in this regard within the relational. So often we will, rather than saying yes to ourselves, we will say yes to another, which means no to ourselves, to prevent feeling that disappointment, to avoid that conflict. So we end up overextending ourselves in response to others. When we say no to ourselves, the body starts to clench. Not just the nervous system, but the place within the throat or your stomach or your heart, your chest, where you carry your stress response will start to tighten. And if we think in terms of sexuality, if we say yes to a partner but no to ourselves, we end up in terms of behaviors to follow the sexual script. We will. But internally, at the end of it, both partners, rather than feeling connected through a bonding event, both partners will start to feel disconnected from one another. On the long term, there is an unwanted resentment that's built up because the woman do not feel seen. She feels another task, another place where I need to reveal or to give up myself. Sexuality, it's at the base and foremost a moment of nourishment. But if it's not a fully body yes, we're betraying our own self. The body closes off and sexuality starts to feel scary.
This is really good. So, what steps can someone listening take to get to a full?
This episode is brought to you by the Business and HR Clarity Audit, a strategic one-on-one session designed for entrepreneurs who are growing with intention. If you're a purpose-driven business owner juggling leadership, team dynamics, and sustainable growth, but something just feels off, the Clarity Audit is your next right step. In this personalized audit, you'll uncover what's working, what's holding you back, and how to align your operations, team, and leadership strategy for long-term success. It's not just about checking boxes. It's about building a business that supports your vision and your values. Walk away with a clear, customized roadmap to move forward with confidence. To book, visit brooksdeming.com.
Well, the first step that I will always say is slowing down the process. Just catching the mind taking over. Slowing down, it's the idea of coming back, feeling yourself. At first, the only thing we may feel is the anxiety and the buzzing energy that we carry. It might be that, and that itself won't feel like the body is home. It's the opposite. It will push us back in our retreat and disengage from ourselves. So in short term, we're abandoning ourselves the same way that we may feel abandoned by the people we cherish the most. It's quite sad how this cycle perpetuates itself. So the first element, there's no way out. There's only a way through. So it's really coming back and assisting to recognizing where anxiety it's carried in my body. How do I recognize that it's anxiety? How do I recognize that actually nervous to say yes to myself? Before any outcome, we need to know that dialogue the body has with us. So that would be my first and foremost step. And sometimes when we carry traumas, it's so strong that we do need support from a therapist or someone in the field that can guide us and hold it for us while we do this exploration.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but I would say it's the most rewarding.
Yeah. No, because I'm listening to you and I know getting there would be so beautiful, but it just sounds like scary.
And you know what, Brooks? That is the doorway. When we start to see that vulnerability is the way to communicate, we start to come back into what it means to be in human resonance with one another. We move out from that robotic lifestyle that feels safe, but so shallow. When I host a couple and we are in a fight, there's no way I can change their mind. There is no psychology strong enough to change someone's mind. But when we bring someone back to his heart and he allowed his partner see his heart is distressed, and the partner start to see him human rather than a placard other, we start to soften. The vulnerability is the healing process. And it's not that beauty of resiliency. When we feel strong in our vulnerability, that's not the best gift of life.
So you're good at what you do, but I'm listening and I'm like, hold on, that's some work.
I host couple, and at first they will tell me like, they sometimes will mistrust where I'm going, but I'm not here to trap them. I'm not here to convince them. I'm not here to manipulate. And my doorway, every client will tell you the same thing is Mary will pause, slow down, and ask me, where do I feel what I'm saying in my body? And that's the first question is, okay, I get that. All of
I can tell that it works, but I'm just thinking about the route there. It's like you can see this beautiful picture. You know the end goal is going to be amazing, but the journey there, I can tell it's a lot of crying, a lot of vulnerability, processing things, but I know it's worth it.
mindset and come back to our body. And often it's because we arrive home, we need to cook dinner, we need to do that routine, we need to insert everyone's needs. And we can hear mom, dad, mom, dad, mom and dad 25 times in the same half an hour. It's constantly demand, demand, demand. So I totally agree that we rather just stick to the routine and stay functional and skipping our emotion on the side. The thing is, when we do that, the safety of our presence by being in the present moment, interacting, attuning, that it might feel subtle, but if we just think about how kids capture this sensation, they will capture it as, okay, my mom is available. My dad answered to me. Although they're cooking, I know that I can and come to them. Like we become available. So it's really this transformation, this, I will say, the capacity to slow down, catch your breath, come back to yourself, and offer your presence, your availability among the task. If we don't have this conscious transition, task will never end and will always take the best of us. So your question is really about what self-responsibility means in that place. I would be very conscious to be really, let me reframe this. Self-responsibility is not about being strong or self-sufficient. It's about being self-present. It's that willingness to stay with what's real inside of us when it would be easier to perform the task, to stick to all the routine. But balancing and coming back to that self-presence, this is the richness we can offer. It changed the dynamic completely. It softened our nervous system because we're not made to perform all the time. Coming back to ourselves, it's rebalancing the harmony between productivity and availability. How that
I like that. That's really, really good. And so you've spoke so much about so many great things, and you've given us so much wisdom. So as we wrap up, what's one message or a piece of advice you want to leave with our listeners who may be navigating their own intimacy within their relationship?
Right. I think I will say, don't speak harder or louder, feel deeper.
How do you do the poetry? I have your contact information. It's been such a pleasure.
I'm offering private retreats, offering one-on-one as well. So you can book individually with me or group session that I offer along the side. So everything is on the website
With you.
The easiest way is to go to my website, which is Authentic Counseling.
And I am so thankful to have you for our listeners today, because you gave us so much information and just things that I didn't even consider that can impact a relationship and intimacy. So that's definitely something that I am going to take and place it in my heart.
Thank you so much for welcoming me in your precious space. I really, really enjoyed my time with you. Such a pleasure.
And thank you for joining. And I will definitely make sure that I have your contact information in the description of this episode. You have been such a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. Please rate this episode and share it with your family and friends. To learn more about your host or to book a coaching session, visit www.brooksdeming.com. Until next time, rise.
Hi, I'm Tiffany of Tiffany Brown Designs. With over 20 years of creative experience across industries, I create and elevate brands one design at a time through intentional graphic and brand design, polished film and video editing, and creative artistry. Even the music you're hearing right now, that was produced by me. I also create custom tracks for websites, intros and outros, and content. So what are you waiting for? Visit TiffanyCBrownGD.com and let's bring your vision to life.